Hey, what's up, YouTube? CoolStoryBrobat here, and I'm doing something I haven't really done before in immense detail. A video where I actually talk about stuff. So what are we talking about today? Mega evolutions. So let me just start off with this really cool story. Alright, I was building a team of Pokemon like last week or like 2 weeks ago, and I was looking at the list of Mega evolutions that currently exist in Pokemon X and Y, and I kind of noticed a little trend in most of, but not all of them got in common. And before I tell you what that trend is, let me just refresh your mind on the Mega evolutions in Pokemon X and Y that are actually available in your game. Venusaur, Charizard X, Charizard Y, Blastoise, Alakazam, Gengar, Kangaskhan, Pinsir, Gyarados, Aerodactyl, Mewtwo X, Mewtwo Y, Ampharos, Caesar, Heracross, Houndoom, Tyranitar, Blaziken, Gardevoir, Mawile, Aggron, Medicham, Manectric, Bayonet, Absol, Garchomp, Lucario, Abomasnow. And that's a lot now, isn't it? But aside from the fact that they didn't make a single Mega evolution out of any Pokemon from Gen 5 or Gen 6, there is a bigger trend I picked up on that a lot of, but not all of them got in common. So what is it? Well, you remember this old game called Pokemon Mystery Dungeon Red and Blue Rescue Team? It came out like 7 or 8 years ago or something, and it was a game I really enjoyed and it grew on me. But the reason I'm mentioning this game out of the blue is because a lot of Pokemon who have Mega evolutions so far actually played a role in that game one way or another. I'm gonna briefly list the roles the ones who were in the game had, and some of them were huge, but others were not so much. Some of them barely even made a cameo at that. But I mean, I'll honestly give you a spoiler warning or something, but these games have been out for forever and some change. Go play an emulator, VBA all day, or just watch a playthrough on YouTube, or read on the wiki, dude. It's out there. But anyway, let me just start off. Gengar and Gardevoir, for instance. I'm gonna start off with them because they probably had the biggest roles in the game, both before and after you beat it. Based on the game's story, Gengar used to be a human who got cursed by Ninetales, right? And Gardevoir used to be his own Pokemon. So when the Ninetales cursed him, Gardevoir tried to defend him by taking the curse for him, but Gengar just ran off and fled and abandoned Gardevoir. So, as a result, the Ninetales wasn't about it. So, Gengar got cursed anyway and eventually transformed into a Pokemon, which is how he ended up becoming a Gengar. And after you beat the game and whatnot, you actually end up breaking the same curse from Gengar, so he still remains a Pokemon, and allow him to at last be reunited with Gardevoir at the cost of all her memories. Gardevoir, though, she actually only appeared to you in your dreams throughout the story up until the part where Gengar has to be judged on whether the curse should be lifted. It was a pretty interesting segment, and I kind of suck at summarizing it, but definitely go look it up, man. I'm telling you, it was a pretty interesting part of the game. But anyway, on top of that, though, little theory I came up with that probably holds no weight whatsoever, but you notice how Gardevoir became part fairy in Gen 6? So it's fairy psychic now, and how Gengar's ghost poison, and how both ghost and poison hit psychic and fairy for super effective damage. You think maybe that's some hint at how Gardevoir was the superior one, how Gengar was the superior one to Gardevoir, since it used to be the human who was his trainer? But at the same time, how Gengar's weak to psychic as a reference to how he was literally brought to tears for the guilt of what he had done to his former partner, only to see she no longer held any memories when she finally came back. I mean, I don't know. For real though, I could make a whole video off that theory alone if I really wanted to, but I'm gonna try to keep it moving because I am getting off topic. Alakazam, Tyranitar, and Charizard were also pretty important in the first two Mystery Dungeon. In the first two Mystery Dungeon games. They formed a nameless rescue team called Team Act, which was formed from the first letter of each of their names, Alakazam A, Charizard C, Tyranitar T. Anyway, and Alakazam was the leader of that team. They were a pretty high-ranking team, and even your own partner and mostly everybody in the game idolized them for their exploits and whatnot. And I thought it was kind of fitting that Alakazam's Mega Evolution also has the highest speed stat out of all Mega Evolutions, sitting at base 145. And if you don't count Mewtwo Y, it also has the highest special attack, which is pretty interesting. Because, I mean, he's the leader. He's up there. He's the boss. I don't know. Charizard also gets a second mention because, like, he has two Mega Evolutions, it could also have been a final evolution of one of the starters you could have been in a game if you were able to be Charmander, like I was. As far as starters go, though, Blastoise, Venusaur, and Blaziken also got Mega Evolutions, though unless you got to play as a Bulbasaur or Torchic, Blastoise was the only one who was an NPC that actually did some in the game story. Like, Blaziken and Venusaur basically did not exist in the game story at all. Like, you had to go recruit a Bulbasaur or some crap. But anyway, like, Blastoise, he was the leader of his own team called Team Hydro with Feraligatr and Swampert as his teammates, the only other two fully evolved water starters at that time. Blastoise was exploring a dungeon called Western Cave after you beat the game, with the same Charizard from Team Act, up until Mewtwo defeated both of them. Oh, and hey, how about that? Mewtwo also got a Mega Evolution. It actually got two if you want to be technical. Medicham also got a Mega Evolution, but her role in the game was minor. The reason I say her is because she's actually confirmed to be a chick in the game. Medicham was part of Team Meanies, along with Ekans, a team led by the same Gengar I was talking about earlier. And Team Meanies was like the rival rescue team for most of the game, and they lived up to their name by being bullies and trying to hinder you. Medicham ended up getting lost in Wish Cave after you beat the game, and Ekans had to put up a request for a team to rescue her. But Medicham still got a Mega Evolution nonetheless. Up next, Kangaskhan, who has been in every Mystery Dungeon game to date, has never played a huge role in the story, also got a Mega Evolution. Kangaskhan basically ran a storage where you could freely store and take out all your extra items that you didn't have room to carry. She's basically an NPC in the game and nothing more, but she's probably one of the most important ones in it at the same time. I guess this is also explaining why it went straight from Forgotten and You Pokemon to that thing that destroyed me in Wi-Fi battle so much that I had to start running Rocky Helmet Slowbro. Seriously, man, Mega Kangaskhan is a threat. I hate this thing, man. It's everywhere. Anyway, one that you probably didn't think about or remember on this list, though, is Absol. Absol was actually in the game's story, though it was really brief. Absol appeared after you fought Articuno in the Frosty Forest and basically ended up joining your team as you went on to Mount Freeze. That was basically it. But hey, Mega Absol is my favorite one in terms of design, though. I seriously need to start using it. And this one kind of doesn't count at the same time, but Latias and Latios apparently are getting Mega Evolutions based on the findings of someone who modified their 3DS. I repeat, modified their 3DS in order to see some things hidden in X and Y's code, which he was able to find. It's not confirmed though, and we have no idea how it's gonna play out, but Latios and Latias were both in Mystery Dungeon, the former of which you had to fight as a boss. Both ended up joining your team afterwards, I think though. Anyway, the last one from Mystery Dungeon Red and Blue who gets a Mega Evolution is Lucario. This one's kind of a special case because Lucario was and wasn't in the game at the same time. What I mean by that is, like, if you got your Explorer rank to a high enough amount of points, you basically obtained the Lucario statue. It didn't do anything, and it was just a statue you got to post outside of your house in the game. And Alakazam from Team Act also occasionally talked about the legendary Lucario, how he was like a platinum rank explorer or something like that, all the heroic deeds he did, but yeah, that was basically it. I mean, there were a few other statues of Gen 4 Pokemon in the game, but back then when these games were made, Gen 4 itself wasn't actually out yet, so this was kind of a really huge cameo at the same time. But is that it though? I mean, if you really want to go there, you could also go in with the sequels to these games, which are Pokemon Mystery Dungeon, Time, Darkness, and Sky. Time and Darkness were both parallels to each other, just like Red and Blue, but Sky was basically both of those games with a huge amount of extra features added on. I'm just gonna say Sky though, because reading all three games' names out loud takes too long, and in that case, the pre-vote to Lucario, Riolu, and most of the other starters from the last game, and some others were actually available in Sky to begin with. So there's that. As far as it goes though, Caesar, who got a Mega Evolution, is actually the first one who strikes me. Caesar didn't get involved in the game until way after you beat it. But get this, it was in a frozen dungeon called Crevice Cave, and it was kept prisoner there by a Frostlass who had it frozen solid and kept at the very back of the room. After you beat Frostlass, Caesar was freed and he revealed he was part of some super top secret organization that sent you requests to explore dungeons that had legendary Pokemon at the end of them. What I like about this though is that in X and Y, when you're inside Frost Cavern and at the very end of that cave, there's this Abomasnow who gives you the Abomasite, the Stone to Mega Evolve Abomasnow itself. And not too special, right? Well, when you're hunting for Mega Stones, directly behind the Abomasnow, at the very back of the room, you can find the Caesarite, the Stone to Mega Evolve Caesar with. The Stone to Mega Evolve Caesar behind an Ice-type Pokemon at the end of a frozen cave? Coincidence? I think not! Well, it probably could be. But honestly, I want to rule out when I was being really specific. But anyway, in Time and Darkness, somewhere in the game after beating a dungeon called Ant Plains to get an item for someone, you're faced in a boss battle against a bunch of Shinx with Luxray being their boss. Now wait, why am I talking about Shinx and Luxray? Do I think they're getting Megas? Nah. But in Sky, one of the changes made was that the boss battle ended up being against a bunch of Electrike and Manectric instead. And how about it? Manectric, who was the boss of that fight, also got a Mega Evolution. Just saying. Get it? Just saying. Take a look at Mega Manectric until you get the joke. Anyway, Garchomp also gets a Mega Evolution. But Garchomp, though, wasn't actually involved in the game's story. But its pre-evolution, Gabite, was, sort of. There's like this special dungeon called Maze Cave, which didn't live up to its name, because it was really short and easy to go through. This dungeon could only be unlocked by a password, or Wonder Mail or something like that. I forget. And you had to beat the Gabite at the end of it to get a Gabite scale in order to complete the mission. The whole mission is based off this little anime special of the game they made, if I'm not mistaken. Like, someone was sick and they had to get a Gabite scale because it had like medicinal properties or whatever. And yeah, anyway, last but not least, before I end this though, Team Charm, a famous rescue team composed of all female Pokemon, Medicham, Gardevoir, and Lopunny, is also in Sky. I mean, I figured I'd mention it because it has Gardevoir and Medicham on it though, and they got Mega Evolutions. So, you think Mega Lopunny could be a thing? Who knows? What would that even look like? But anyway, that's all I got as far as Mega Evolutions and Mystery Dungeon goes. There's definitely a little relation going on between the two of them. It's most likely pure coincidence though, as from what I've heard people say, the Mega Evolutions were chosen based on popularity. I can't really talk about how popular some Pokemon on that list are compared to some others who didn't get Mega Evolutions, and I would not treat this information as if it's anything more than just coincidences. Because, I mean, still, a good amount of Pokemon on that list had nothing to do with those games whatsoever, directly, and they got evolutions anyway. So, yeah. But, aside from that, though, who do you think Game Freak's gonna give a Mega Evolution to next? Would it actually be something that's played a role in these games? Would it finally be something from Gen 5 at least? Will we get a Mega Meganium? Or a Mega Yawn Mega? Will Crobat hit OU in Gen 6? Let me know what you guys think. Thanks for watching. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, and maybe I'll do more of these. Who knows? Anyway, thank you.